Hi everyone. So, in the previous video I told you that we might do some stuff to this Traxxas Bandit that I've put a castle system in. So it's got rustler rear wheels, and the rear wheels from the Bandit are already on the front. So one thing that is a problem is at full lock. You can hear the spokes in the wheels actually, they rub against the A-arms. So I don't know if there's a way to fix that.
We need snippers.
Snippers? No? Oh, I can tear that with my hand. No big deal.
Okay.
Another thing that I did, just to make it to where I could torque down the nuts on the front wheels. These are normally little spacers. So I took them out from behind the pins on the front wheels. These things bind if you tighten these the wheel nuts down too much with the spacers in it. That fixed that problem. But for today, we are going to be widening the track width on the rear of this thing. So I have RPM for the rustler. These are rustler rear arms. This is part number 80182. We have drive shafts for, I think these are for the Traxxas Slash. Anyways, you can just look up the part number. It's 6852X. You're going to need two. And then, because you need longer camber links on the rear to go with the widened rear A-arms, I just picked up RPM part number 81262. 81262. These are front A-arms, so I'll probably do these in a different video if they're not needed. I don't know, I might do them in this one. It all depends on how I feel. So, let's get to tearing the rear end of this thing apart. First of all, I'm going to have to take the rear wheels off because we need to get to the... Yeah. Thank you to my Armor Creighton for sending this in the package. This is one of the baddest wheel nut things I've ever used. I love this thing. And it's, as you can tell, pretty heavy. So if you're running stock Bandit rear wheels, be careful with this, because when you pull these wheels off the rear, the stock Bandit, at least the brushed version, I'm not sure about the VXL, but these are pin drives. So when you pull these off, there is no hex. It's just a pin that fits into the back of the wheel. I would show you, but it's on these. Because again, these are the stock rear tires. Thankfully, we don't really have to worry about that yet on this one. So, on the VXL, you're probably going to have hex hardware. On this one, it's just Phillips heads. Pull that pin out. And we're going to pull this pin out next to the transmission case. This is a super simple thing to do. If you put together a Lego, you can work on one of these things. It's not that hard.
So you're telling me I can work on one of these?
All you got to do is just know where everything goes. Fair pliers. Alright, there's your bottom A-arm off, and we are going to undo the shock perch as well. Or not the shock perch, but where the shock mounts. We're just going to go ahead and take that screw out too.
So, don't we need longer shocks, or do they just connect to the same spot?
No longer shocks required. All it does is widen out your A-arms a bit.
These are back ones?
Yep, those are the rear ones. You can go ahead and pull those open. There we go. There's one rear A-arm off. Now I'm going to show you the difference between these and the rustler A-arms. And yes, we could have just torn this rustler here apart for parts, but I wanted to go ahead and put RPM on this thing anyways.
Make it a different project.
So here's the difference. These are your stock A-arms. These are the rustler A-arms. You see how much longer those are? So this is going to extend the width of the rear end. And it's a really interesting little deal. Where's that small, tiny Allen wrench I had that was for taking off these drive shafts? Can you find it for me? This one? It might have been that one. So now,
They've been smaller.
we're going to take off this drive shaft. To do this, you're going to need a small little Allen wrench, and you're going to have to fiddle it between the case here and get at this pin that's in the drive shaft. You could probably also do it from this angle, but no, probably not. So we're going to go between the transmission housing here. And you're gonna need kind of a long Allen wrench, or like a one that's like a screwdriver handled Allen wrench, but either way it's gonna be small. So
You want to know something interesting, Mike?
and be very careful with these because they will strip out on you. I've had it happen countless times. It is a pain in the butt.
Ooh,
Alright, so this pin is unscrewed, but sometimes it's a bit hard to get them to pop out, especially if they're old and abused. So let's see here. I'm just gonna take
Let me see it. Maybe I can get it.
take this little angled part of this one. I'm gonna stick it, fish it around in the back of this back here, and use it to kind of pop that pin out. There we go. I think that fan's about had it, huh? Oops. So there's your little pin.
Go fix that.
Yep. So I'll show this to you. It's just a little bitty pin here. A little hex head pin.
There we go.
Be careful not to lose them. Now,
Fan's
the
blade's
drive
coming off.
shaft. Now the drive shaft will slide off. That will do it automatically. If you want to go ahead and take this top link off first, you can. But now the drive shaft comes off of your drive pin on your transmission. Now with some cars, unfortunately, the drive cup here actually goes into the transmission and is pinned in inside the casing. When it comes to that, you got to take the whole transmission apart just to change drive shafts. I hate that design. Most of the time, at least from what I've seen, it's only used on metal dog bones where the drive shaft has like a pin on the end of it and it slides into the cup. Sometimes the cup actually is pinned into the transmission, but on this model, the Traxxas Bandit, the Traxxas slash two-wheel drive slash Rustler, Traxxas Rustler two-wheel drive, the Stampede two-wheel drive, they all use the same exact rear transmission. So I think they're all going to be the same. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty confident. All right, this side we got to take the transmission casing off to get to this screw for this linkage back here.
You want to blur this out of the video because YouTube hates people?
It's just a knife,
No.
and it's not in frame anyway. Just keep it over.
Thank you, Marty.
And it's a wise idea not to bite the hand that feeds, by the way.
Yeah, like they're gonna
Which
feed
means
us.
don't tick off the people who pay your paychecks. Not that I have a paycheck because I don't have enough subscribers or anything, but still, don't tick them off. If you have a ball end wrench, you could probably get in here and undo this, but the spur gear is in my way, so what I'm going to do now is just take off the spur gear. Alright, old parts. Here.
What part's there? Yep.
You're going to have a spring and a nut.
Or no, sorry, that's parts that we're not gonna reuse. Old parts that we're
Okay.
not gonna reuse.
Alright, and you can see how that works. The harder the spring pushes against this, the harder these shoes in here touch this clutch disc. Another thing, when you're doing this, try not to get finger grease and everything on this little disc because it can make it a bit difficult for it to grab. So with all that off, we're going to take this linkage here out.
Does that mean we're going to take out the motor on the other side or no? We might have
not
to.
have to. But if we do, it's only these two screws here. And
Yeah.
the gear mesh is easy to readjust.
I think we can keep the gear there in spot. I don't think we need
Alright,
to
we're
take
going
that
to
out.
reuse that. Alright, there's the whole back end on one half torn apart. So, I got to get this hex off of here so I can pull the stub axle through. Well, actually, are these the new parts?
Yeah, those are the new
axles?
parts. Nah, it's not really different axles, I think.
No, they're 4-spline. So that'll actually fit in there.
Oh, we should probably just replace them just in case. I
Yeah,
mean,
just to be on the good side, we'll go ahead and replace them. If you're wondering where this came from, this is me trying to get a hex off of here with a knife like an idiot, and I wound up hurting myself. So instead of a knife, we're going to use a really sharp ice pick because that's all I have laying around. There we go. Now we're going to have, again, if it's just a normal Bandit, you're not going to have this hex. You're just going to have this pin. All right. So take the hex off.
just follow that out. It's probably
There's the pin, and then behind the pin,
There's a little space.
we're going to have a spacer.
And we're going to reuse that.
We're going to reuse that as well. Take the drive shaft out. Now, this Bandit is running bushings, but on higher end models, you probably have bearings. Actually, I'm fairly certain the VXL models have bearings. So, just if it looks a little different, that's why. It's no big deal.
They don't snap in, they just kind of push on.
You got to get them straight once they come back out. You got to kind of straighten them up. Put them in there. There we go. All right. And last thing is to take this linkage off. And we're going to actually wait till last to put this linkage back on because I don't quite know which length I need. There's 4 of them in that RPM case, and I'm not sure which ones go on the rear of a rustler and which ones go on the front. If I had to guess, it would be the longest ones, but we'll see. Looking at our rustler platform over there, I do believe it is the longer ones. Never mind my thumbnail, I know it's horrible, but it comes in handy.
Oh, hey, we got 2 different types of stickers.
Oh, you did? Oh. One's RPM with white lettering and a blue background, the other is RPMs with blue lettering and a white background.
That's cool.
Whoops.
They're actually different sizes, or at least that.
Oh. Interesting. There's a little washer behind that screw, so put that back. All right. Now that we have this entire rear end assembled,
This
we're gonna take our A-arms. This hoop goes on bottom, and you can also tell because RPM kindly labels their stuff with an R. And where's the other arm? Yes, with an R and an L. So we're on our right side. It's a good time to check all your plastics here, make sure there's no cracks.
There was one thing that I was kind of worried about if you actually look up here.
What is it?
There's a little crack there. I don't know if that's scuff mark or crack.
Well, it's just from landing it upside down.
Alright.
It's just scuff marks on that rear shock tower.
I mean, I don't know how the body's covered it.
No, doesn't cover it. The way the rear of the body's made, it doesn't cover that shock tower. The shock tower is like right here.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
The Bandit body covered, or the
Rustler.
bottle. Yeah.
Bottle.
All right, so we have the right hand side here. Put that on there. We're gonna take our hinge pin, the long one.
Made different. Yeah, they're even made different. Look, these can actually lock up if you push them too far. Oh yeah. Those are made different.
And we're just gonna kind of, there we go, push that in there.
Oh, I'm getting dirt all over my finger.
Now this is gonna take a little bit of doing. You kind of have to. There it is. See how it popped in? Now it's in that side. Now we just thread these in.
Nice.
Sometimes you'll have some binding just because parts are tight. You see how that doesn't want to move freely.
It'll loosen up over time.
It'll loosen up over time, certainly if sand gets in there. I don't have any sandpaper with me, but if you do have some real fine grit sandpaper, just come on the inside, not of this, of the A-arm, and just kind of sand it down a little bit until it moves freely. This will free up over time. A lot of people will tell you, oh, that's a big deal. Trust me, once you get out in the sand and stuff and it starts getting in between here, it'll scuff it up enough to move. All right. Speaking of hub carriers, how do we have this one set? It is set in the top hole.
Yeah.
The top hole here is where the pin on this side goes. So now we're going to take our short pin. Guys, go ahead and just let you know, this is pretty universal for these trucks. I mean, some trucks may have different looking A-arms and different hardware. Sometimes it's a pin with C-clips on it. Other times, what?
It literally says on there.
Oh, it does say front and rear. Well, would you look at that? RPM, once again, being very kind. Sometimes it's a pin with C-clips on it. Other times it doesn't have anything. It's a pin that goes through and then you'll have like a set screw that holds it in place. But for the most part, all of this that I'm teaching you here is universal. I mean, there's a pin here, there's a pin here, there's a linkage here, and in some models there's another A-arm up top. Instead of just a little linkage. But all in all, it's very, I mean, very simple, very more or less universal. Here comes the difficult part. We're going to go ahead and put this part of the drive shaft linkage back on.
Then we gotta get the bolt or whatever it is back into it.
And what I do with this and what you can do with it, but I wouldn't suggest if you're having trouble getting this in, you can put a dab of grease in here and it'll help kind of hold it. But remember, once that grease is in there, dirt's going to want to stick in there. So every time you take it back apart, you're going to have to come in with like an ice pick and dig all that dirt out before you try putting an Allen key in. Because trust me, with screws this small, you want as much purchase as possible so that it doesn't strip out. That actually went in real nice and easy. This is also a good time to check your out drives or your whatever you call them. If they've got a crap load of play in them, then you may have a bad bearing. In some cases, it can be caused by bad pieces on the internals of the diff. I had that problem with my Slash because I beat the heck out of it and didn't really care about maintenance when I was younger. But just, check on everything, make sure it's not super loosey-goosey in there. All right, our pin's back in place. We are going to go ahead and put that thing there and our drive pin through the hub. And we'll just let that sit. It may fall out on you. It's fine if it does, because realistically you can, in some models you can tilt this A-arm down enough that it'll actually pop the drive shaft out. But on this one, it doesn't look like it's going to, so that's good. Okay, so we have the RPM rear arm, rear thingy-majigger here. We're going to take our shoulder screw, which is that part. Now, some of these, when you're replacing them, some of these have ball ends in them. And with a ball end, you just use a typical screw. But other models, again, they have this shoulder screw, and the reason is, oh, it did pop out. Okay. So the reason for that is this is a shoulder screw. It's got this flat piece here, and that flat piece indexes into the actual arm. And if you have a ball end, it's just a normal screw. I'm not going to do the other side on camera because it's going to be the exact same process minus the slipper clutch and stuff. You may have to remove the motor on some models, but I think y'all are smart enough to figure this out pretty easy. And I do have a video on adjusting slipper clutches, like I said, and I also have, I think, a video on adjusting gear mesh. What we don't want to forget is that tiny little silver washer that fell out. Where are my screws for the top here? Another reason why I'm not going to show you the other side is because also, other than it just being the same thing again, the video is literally going to be twice as long if I show you the other side. And I know a lot of you guys, if you're just getting into this, you just broke something and you want to get out and play. So instead of watching a 45-minute video of me changing 2 A-arms on the rear of a Bandit, just watch a couple-minute video of me changing 1 A-arm and you have the knowledge for the other side as well.
Or you could just get like a timestamp and just have it be like, hey, this is where you skip to if you want to skip the second part.
And I'm an idiot because I didn't put the drive shaft in. Come on, can you fit in there?
Maybe. But that also means it might slip out while playing.
No. Come on, you've almost got it. Yes. It fits.
The washer, yes.
Now, again, that looks like something, well, that's going to fall off. Remember, you've got a pin, a spacer, and a hex nut that goes on here, and a wheel nut. So this is going to be locked in place. It's fine.
But this theoretically couldn't it?
What?
On the front here, if we take this panel off?
No, I don't think so.
It seems like the screws are in the same position.
The 2-wheel drive bumper. Well, no, because the 2-wheel drive Slash, I think, has a different chassis. But the front bumper from like the Rustler and the 2-wheel drive, the Stampede has a different chassis as well.
No, look at it though. It looks like this front piece without this three screw piece would actually fit on that perfectly. Maybe the holes be a bit bigger, but that's about it.
Beauty of this hobby, you can modify anything to fit. All right, everything back on.
I believe so. Now we need the ring and
let's put the because this is going to be hard to get to. Put the rear tire on, so I'm going to put this back on here.
Oh.
Put the spur gear and clutch assembly back on. And then the spring. And then the nut. There's the nut. There's the nut.
No, okay. No.
Just leave it. It's fine. Let it fall.
Okay. Oh, I mean,
Alright, see how it's free spinning now? We can't tighten it anymore because the clutch is slipping. So again, put pressure on that to push the shoes into that clutch disc. And then you might be able to get it to tighten up enough that the spring puts the pressure on it instead. So now we're good. Can you move your hand? Thank you.
Sorry, I was just trying to help.
Alright, I'm going to tighten it all the way down. Back it off. One whole turn. And that'll be fine for now. I'm going to test it again once I get the rear wheel on. That way I can actually hold on to the wheels and the drive shafts and put some torque to that spur gear without it just trying to open the
Yeah.
spacer.
Spacer, and then the pin
And
there.
then the pin. There we go. There's the pin. And then again, the wheel hex indexes into that pin. You gotta have this thing centered or else it won't snap in properly.
And then use that push
I like
there.
to use this. Pop that in. There we go. There you go. We lost a bushing.
Did we?
Somewhere we lost a bushing on the inner side of that hub carrier.
Oh.
So I'm gonna look for it.
Bushing.
Yep, we lost it. It was on the inside of the hub carrier. That's why that's so wobbly. I didn't check that.
I thought we pushed it back down and it came back up.
Probably came back down. Let me look at something here. Give me the old drive shafts.
Old drive shafts.
Yeah.
Sure, gonna be here.
Aha!
Ah.
I
Okay.
found you. It stuck to the old drive shaft when I took it out. All right.
Oh.
Let's fix that. It's just like anything
Oh.
else. You put the bushing in the spacer. Right?
Also another.
Yeah.
That thing is very bent.
We're actually going to take this out because it's going to make it easier than jacking with that top link again. Just do it like this. Take out this bottom piece.
What am I hearing?
Oop, that's going to pull off. It's going to pull off.
My.
Hold on, it's fine. It's fine if it comes apart. It'll come apart, it'll come back together.
More or less bent.
Spacer.
Okay.
Put spacer goes first.
Which way? Guess so.
And then bushing. Just put this.
Make sure to connect it before screwing it in.
Back in there. Drive shaft. Sometimes these drive shafts are rough to get together because one spline in them may be bigger than the other. Just because I've had models that do that. I don't know how common it is anymore, but like I said, I have had models that do it.
Feels like really heavy for some reason.
Whoops!
There's Marley.
Yeah, that poor dog's afraid of everything. There we go. Suspension moves with no binding. We've got our bushings in. It doesn't have any slop anymore. Good. Now,
That's a good thing.
I'm going to put that on. The spacer. The pin.
That's the line.
The hex.
And the snatch.
And now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the rear wheel back on.
To gear it.
Yeah, just to adjust the gear mesh. And then once I get done with that, I'm gonna, or not the gear mesh, the super clutch tightness. Once I get done with that, y'all will see a picture of the finished product. Oh my, dude, that looks so cool.
It actually does.
That looks so cool.
It doesn't make me worry about the wheels grinding.
Can you hold this wheel over here for me? Thank you. There we go. We got a little bit of clutch slipping going on. Not much though. Just a hair.
So you want it to slip, but you don't want it to be loose.
Because this is still a stock transmission. If it was that Magnum 272 or whatever it's called, then I would just lock it. All right. Up next, you'll see some pictures of it finished. But that's how you swap out the rear A-arms on the Traxxas Bandit and make it wider. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Hey everyone, one thing I forgot to mention is that due to suspension geometry and just the way all that works, you are going to have to put some spring clips on the back shocks of this. Extending the A-arms out pretty much makes it to where, as far as the shocks are concerned, the truck is heavier. So don't forget to do that as well.